welcome everybody to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I'm your host, JC Granger, and I have Ronan Wall here with me, who is the CEO and co-founder of Dosen. Ronan, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what kind of problems does Dosen solve?
Yeah, thank you, JC, for having me. I'll give you a very quick snippet about me and my background, and then I'll bring you up to Dosen, and it'll make a little bit of sense as to why we're working on this problem. My background is actually in online gambling, which is an acceptable career choice in Ireland, where I'm from.
Hey,
Um,
it's acceptable in America now. In case you haven't noticed, we
it's
went
becoming much
full
more
we
so.
went full tilt on gambling like 3 years ago. We said, screw it. We went full
All
tilt on
in.
marijuana and then gambling and just
Yeah,
so
losing
just
a
let it
run of
all go.
yourselves. So as is an acceptable career choice around the world now, I can now say. And actually my first role was straight out of college. I met two professional gamblers and they were setting up what was then one of the world's first betting marketplaces. The concept being we could bet against each other instead of having to bet against the house casino. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Like, I didn't know what a startup was, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, I didn't know what equity was, unfortunately. But we just had a blast. I hired five of us, we were the founding team, and we went from free product to just north of 1.2 billion a year in turnover in
Which
four
company was this
years.
again? Which company was
Um,
this?
matchbook.com
Oh
it was
yeah,
called.
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of
You're one of
fun.
the founding members, like the original employees of Matchbook.
There you go. Yeah, I
That's
know.
cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
You see some of the old pictures, like the story. I won't go to the story. We don't have time for all the stories. It was just bonkers, but it was great. And actually, what I really got out of it was an appreciation for how you build something and a company and an entity, and like things just don't get done. And when you're a 21-year-old living at home with your mother and she's doing your washing for you, stuff just gets done, right? Isn't that how it works? My clothes come back clean. But you really learn like stuff has to get done and it has to be done by you or by somebody. Um, so it was a lovely grounding. I went from there into another kind of small online Irish gambling company. There's about 100 people in the online division. And again, it felt very startup-ish. It was within a bigger entity. It was a public company, but they were very much retail based at the time. But again, they did a great job of hiring just young, hungry, smart people, and with that kind of entrepreneurial kind of angle to them. And within 7 years, we gone from 100 people to 5,000, and we had built the world's biggest online gambling company. So they have since gone on to acquire FanDuel and PokerStars and others. So Flutter is what they trade as now. So that was the first 12 years of my career. So I kind of saw everything from like the cleaner unplugging the server in Antigua and you spending 2 hours with the dev team trying to figure out why the site is down, all the way up to investor roadshows and board meetings with some very, very impressive people. So that was the early stage for me. And it was really in Paddy Power that I had my first experience that led to Dosen, because when I joined that team of 100, I managed about maybe 30 or 40 people. And it was great. And we were award winning and our standards were high. And we were just on the cusp of a wave as the company was growing. It's fantastic. And Ronan's ego was doing really well. But within a couple of years, my team was 250 and it was not performing particularly well. And what used to go up and to the right, the graphs now went down as the left. Um, so it was a real struggle. And the problem I had at the time was the challenge of keeping my entire team aligned on the same set of standards, operating to the same principles, operating with the same culture. And there's a great book called Tribal Leadership, if you've ever read it, JC.
I've heard of it. I have not read it though, but I have heard of that one.
It's super. I mean, there's just a couple of points in it that always resonated with me. The first is once a group of individuals of any kind goes beyond a certain number, it starts to break down into silos. So if you think of like if you're out for dinner with friends and there's three of you, there's one conversation and you're all partaking in it. If you're at a table with five people, it kind of breaks up a little bit. There's two people having one conversation, three having a different one. And if you think about an organization or a group at 100, it starts to just break down a little bit. Um, and that really resonated with me at the time, and I was suffering from it, and there was just different cultures and fits, and I needed something that I could use to take the company goals and our ambitions and our standards and align it with my employees' own personal ambitions to create programs that I could deliver back to them that would just pull them all together, give them a single set of principles, and get them fully aligned on what we were attempting to do. Now, I spent a lot of time and money doing this manually, LMS platforms and training teams and so on, and that was really the genesis for Dosen. So I went on to move to LA. I'm Irish, obviously, originally. Spent some time with them. I got rid of convenience fees. tickets from Ticketmaster, JC. You'll be very thankful. You can thank me later when you go and buy your next concert ticket. But
Awesome.
always wanted to get back into that early stage environment again. That energy is just incredible. So came out of Ticketmaster, met Vic and Kian, my co-founders, and this problem just had stuck with me, and they each had their own reasons for coming on a kind of a very similar journey to me from different angles, and we just said, look, let's go and solve this problem. And since then it's only gotten worse, it's only exacerbated, and we now have, I mean, since we started, we've had the dawn of the quiet quit, if you've heard of that, and the concept of people just dialing it in. And now 60% of workers are dialing it in. 80% have no purpose in their work. 95% don't know the strategy or goals of their company. So this has become an even bigger problem since I experienced it previously. And so what we do is we help a company to unlock its own potential by aligning its employees' ambitions with its company goals and creating programmatic learning opportunities for people within the organization. So that was a long answer to a short question, Stacey, but
Well, so
yeah,
like,
that's what
yeah,
we do.
I want the visual of it, right? Like, so if
Mhm.
I'm a new client and I log in, like, what am I creating through the platform? What does it look like to my employees? Like, what's the, like, what, paint the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, really, really good question. See if I can, my words can do justice to the designs that we have. But you can think about this as almost learning pathways or programs. So think about you as a new employee within an organization. What you would do is you would join an onboarding program that is created by the organization, but within it, instead of kind of generic materials or I don't know, maybe you get pushed to LinkedIn Learning, the materials are created from the organization. So we consume company strategy, company goals, company handbooks, processes, culture docs, and then we combine that with videos of the people from within the organization. So think about a welcome video for your CEO, head of the different departments introducing themselves and what they do, org charts from the actual company that you're joining. Think about all the things, and this, it doesn't sound like rocket science because it's not, but organizations do this so badly. And so you either get one of two things. You either get nothing coming in the door, or you get an email with a PDF, and then a week later you get a handbook, and then I got a pair of socks in one company I went into, and it's literally the best onboarding I've ever had. Onboarding is a bit more about, did you get your chair? Do you have your laptop? Do you have your key card? And it's not about how do we make you feel like you belong, have some purpose, are aligned with company goals. So for all intents and purposes, think about it as a program. Which serves you, and we're talking like 3 to 5 hours, kind of a short amount of time to consume really rich, valuable information. Um, but then it's wrapped in kind of social learning. So if you want a buddy associated with your learning program, we have the technology to enable that. There's a community of other people within the program. So anyone within the organization or the program partakes in the learning as well. And you can reach out and connect with them. We've got video call and chat. We've got modern learning tools like lightning strikes and content drops and ask me anything, all built into this. So it's not any one learning tool or technique. It's all of them combined. And we guide the organization into building the most effective, essentially, version of that. And by doing it that way, they don't just learn generic things like how to be a good product manager. They learn how to be an effective product manager in this particular organization. Who makes the decisions? Who should I avoid? What's the roadmap? How do I influence change? They're the things you want your employee to understand, and by understanding, they feel more effective. And then the data will tell you that engagement increases, churn decreases, productivity increases, and we have the tools to feed back to the company to tell them the ROI of their investment in our platform and in their people, which is something that they really struggle with today. So as a
So
user, it feels like that type of experience as an administrator or a company, you get your ROI at the end, and you just see the value of the work that you've done.
it sounds like you figured out a way to merge culture with the operational process of onboarding, right?
Hmm.
And so that employees can, like you said, I mean, there's the things, the line items that have to happen, right? But then I know, like, I just remember, like, back when I would be a new employee somewhere long before I started my agency, uh, you go in and they're like, yeah, like you said, it's like, here's this, here's that, but then like, okay, but like what's the style here, right? Like what's acceptable and
Yes,
how do we engage with each other, things like that. So it sounds like you kind of
for
created that,
sure.
and the platform, I imagine, allows the person with the license, like the company, to build these out within the platform. Not, I'm sure they can import stuff, but they could, if they didn't have something already, they could build it out from scratch, right?
Absolutely. And that's the big thing for us is we don't expect organizations to have all of this already. So what we'll do is we'll suck it down from anything, their website, external videos, keynotes, whatever documents they're using today, anything that they have at all, even interviews with people from the organization. And with the power of AI now, you can actually take this and turn it back into learning programs and opportunities and lessons and everything else. So that's exactly it. Yeah.
Is
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think some of the best because I've onboarded into a few different companies now, and for me, the thing that I really wanted to know was not how to get my key card. It was who do I avoid? Like who's out to get me here because someone is somewhere, or who do I need to influence? Like if I'm going to be successful, it's rarely your direct manager. It's probably the person who your manager needs to influence that you need to influence, and that's quite subtle and it can be a little bit hard. So with our tools, you can get insight into all of that. And then with the buddy system, you can talk to people about the things you're afraid to ask
yeah.
questions about of anyone else. So
Is
it's a
is
much
there
richer.
a is there an HR aspect to this for recruiting? Like I get that it's an onboarding,
Mhm.
but what about building in features that allow them to find the right fit for, because it already has all this information about the company, right? Like you, and if you have AI could kind of reverse engineer how you guys are and put that into a really cool job description that attracts the right people to begin with. That you guys, do you have any of those kind of options in there?
We today we do now after this conversation, JC, that's going into our roadmap.
I mean, I
Copyright
thought it'd be a
is
cool feature, right? Because I just figure,
it's
if I
great.
upload everything about my company and AI can understand essentially what we're
Yeah,
all about and our processes, really, I know for a fact that that in itself is like one giant prompt,
a
right? It's like
hundred
like
percent.
create a job description for someone that would match our culture doing
Yes.
these tasks that you already know everything about, and then it just spits it out. See, there you go. See, that was free. That the next one's
Hang
gonna
on.
cost you, man. The next one's gonna cost you.
Give me, I'm just taking notes here. No, you're dead right, and I think some of the more interesting things for us are what's in the future because if we're gathering that information and data, and then we're seeing how people are interacting and we're seeing how they're learning. I mean, think about the value of that for an organization, and the one I'll call it obvious, but certainly one that's on our mind right now is there are very few markers for an individual's success or promotion outside of their performance, their like day-to-day performance. So you and I are both individual contributors, and we both go for a managerial role of managing a team of four. Today, the people making the decisions in a programmatic sense can only look at the results that we've produced in the last couple of years. I'm like, oh, Ronan got 5 out of 5 of his goals done. JC only managed to get 4 out of his 5. So does that mean he's a better manager of people? That's not really the indicator you want. Well, hang on. JC's done a couple of courses on this and he's mentoring 2 people in the organization right now and he's really active. And Ronan's done none of those things. He's been invited and hasn't completed anything. I feel like JC's more into this and probably more about his own development and learning and he's helping people. Like that's a marker that doesn't exist today. So I think about those components of it as well as being powerful back within the organization as well. And just all of that richness of data just powers the algorithms that ultimately determine who you're being recommended to connect with. I talk about social learning, like we power that engine of look, now that we see where you are in your journey and how you're doing and where you want to get to. If you think about later stage type programs like management or leadership, you should really be connecting with these other people because the system understands where they are on their journey and how it relates to yours because of the fact that they've had all of their experience kind of built in as well. So
Yeah.
there's so many, there really is, and I think we're kind of at the tip of the iceberg with this. I think if we can really crack the nut of building an enjoyable program model and one that really drives ROI, I think the next step of this is just fascinating. I think it's ripe for disruption innovation as well. It hasn't been kind of touched for a little while.
So, I mean, we talked about a lot of the things that are good about it. Let's talk a little about the struggles, like when you started how old is the company again?
So we are 5 years old.
Okay. Talk to me about like when did this shit hit the fan? There's no way it didn't at any point. At some point, something went absolutely horribly wrong and you questioned yourself and all this, like obviously you got through it, right? That's the good news is that we know the story
Yeah.
ends well. But like, let's talk about the struggles. Like, what happened early on that had you running scared for a minute, so to speak?
Um, my co-founder and I joke all the time about we're going to write a memoir, and everything that happens, it's just another chapter in the book. And when you tell yourself the story that way, you're like, oh, this is good. This isn't the end. This is chapter 7 of 40. I'm looking forward to the next 33 chapters. Uh, so many, JC, so many. I think life as an entrepreneur or an early stage startup, the graph is something like this with these massive highs and massive lows in high frequency. Whereas if you're in a kind of a larger organization, the highs aren't quite as high and the lows not quite as low and they're not as frequent. So there are many. Oh God, let me try and think of some. I mean, we money is always an issue. We self-funded for the first 3 years, and
Oh,
we just didn't want to take anyone's money until we felt we had something that was worthy of it. So just running out of money all the time, just not being able to know where the next kind of few dollars are coming from, and that's terrifying. That's not something you need to worry about in a normal job. Bringing people in, like bringing the right people in, and you celebrate and you think you've made a great success, and then within a period of time you learn that that was a bad idea. This is not working. How do we get back out of this? So
that
there's
is the
lots of
hard
those.
that's the hard one. That's one of those decisions that takes a while to know that it was wrong.
It does, and it probably takes a little longer to even accept that.
Hmm.
Like I think your gut tells you, and it takes a minute for your brain to catch up and go, okay, I got to do something with this because sometimes um you can be worried about the story or how others perceive, and if you're like, oof, we can't do that, or people won't be happy, that's the really hard bit. And I think your gut, you've got to listen to your gut, I think, as you're going through the journey. So I'm not giving you very specific examples here. I'm trying to think of more juicy ones. Here's a very juicy one. Silicon Valley Bank. If you remember a couple of
Yeah.
years ago, yeah. So we had all of our money in there. We took first ever investment check, I think the week before. And on the Friday, we learned that it had shut its doors and kept our money. And we're like, well, that was good while it lasted. I'll see you in the job market on Monday, Vic. And we just didn't know what to, no one knew what was going to happen next. And we literally had no money to pay our bills the next week. And one of our investors, one of our first investors, literally rang us and just said, guys, you're going nowhere. Just tell everyone you're solvent and you're totally fine and we'll figure this out. And just knowing that you got backers like that
Yeah.
it was remarkable. It was the first time we kind of felt that we had the support, real support of others outside of ourselves and our own grind. And by Monday, the government had insured any deposits in accounts above a certain number. And within a couple more days, we'd access
Free
to
sigh of
money.
relief.
And within a week, it wasn't even an issue anymore. But
Yeah.
at that moment, we were like, oh God, how do we
Yeah.
explain this
There's
to
a
the
run
person
on
who
the
just wrote us a
banks.
check?
People
Yeah,
don't realize like how close things get to being completely over, right? Like
yeah.
our system, we like to think that our system has so many protections, and in reality, it's incredibly fragile in the right
Mm,
circumstances. The good news is we have backups, and
for
that's not
sure.
the same as having like the infrastructure first. So we have good backups, but even then, that comes, having to use those, that just punts the problem down the field, right? Even then, it's like that's still a problem we got to deal with, but at least
Yeah,
we didn't collapse today, live to fight another day kind of thing, right?
a hundred
Um,
percent.
well, and on that note, so here's the thing. I mean, you guys have a great product. Um, how have you, how are you getting the word out about it, right? Like,
Mm.
what types of all right, we know you're doing PR, you're on the podcast, right? So PR, check. Okay. What other types of marketing are you guys doing to tell people about Dozen? And then what types of marketing have you tried that just completely failed?
Yeah, good question. I think for a while it was very founder led. So it was just manual reach out from us to our network, to anyone who'd listen, and some of the joy in starting a company doing this from scratch is seeing people come out to support you. And you spend a lot of time asking people for things at this stage of your journey. And it's just remarkable. There's people I will be forever grateful for who stepped in and just said, I'll try it. I'll pay you for that. I'm interested. I'll feedback. And so that was it for a minute. And then since then, we just closed an oversubscribed pre-seed round, our first round, and we're now in a different stage where that's wonderful and lovely, but it just doesn't scale. And so we're probably about 8 weeks into the building of what I'm calling a marketing and sales engine. Um, and I don't want to go overly into too much kind of a technical detail on it, but for me, for the most part, probably the single biggest thing that we're doing is just raising our voices. And so it's not one to one with people that are friends in our network. We're now doing it en masse. And so actually posting information, content, our story, the problem as we see it, the solution as we offer it, and just getting it out there in as kind of non-salesy a fashion as we possibly can, because we know this is a major issue. We know there are people out there suffering from it, and we can solve it. So we just need to make sure that we're getting in front of those people. So for me, it's that it's a lot of kind of outbound messaging, and then we're trying to give a lot away for free as well, if that makes sense. Like we're trying to just help others recognize if they are in this position, help them try and solve this themselves. They don't need to work with us if there's other simple ways for them to do this. Help them to understand the cost of doing this. We have things like kind of ROI models. We could tell you how much the cost of disengagement is in your organization today in a handful of minutes. So kind of giving tools out and helping people to tackle this problem. So a lot of that, a lot of outbound, a lot of messaging, a lot of talking. And then I think from there, it's just creating a funnel, as we call it, to allow those that this messaging resonates with to come to us. And so it feels like a much a kind of almost softer mechanism for allowing people to come to us who are suitable for the platform that we provide. And that then just becomes just a good website, very simple to use processes for people to get what they need from us and get in touch with us, book a time, see the product. Um, Newsletters to just stay in touch with what we're doing. And at some moment, it might not make sense today, but at some moment in the future, it will. So it's just getting that whole engine moving. And so that's kind of the funnel as we
Yeah.
see it. And within that, then it's again just trying to give a lot away for free. Like let's give newsletters out, webinars. Let's go and actually talk about this problem and
Mhm.
different solutions. And it may not be us. I really don't mind if there's other platforms out there that can help. Super, because it's a real problem we want to solve. So as much as we can, it's all of that that we're going out with, and then just building it back in a way whereby we can see the data. We've not been able to do that to date, but today I could tell you how many people we've reached, of those, how many this resonated with, of those, how many are interested in actually talking to us about the product, and then figure out where and who, because at this stage of the journey for us as well, um, I want to find the person with the problem. I want to find the person who wants to buy the platform to solve the problem for them. I want to find the organization that suffers from this more than others. So I don't end up bombarding the wrong people. I want to make sure I'm finding that. So a lot of that data will lead us to our kind of our right people. Um, and then I think in terms of what didn't work, I would say we did a little paid marketing in early stages. It's remarkable how quickly you can spend money on that. Like just
Yep.
remarkable. Um, I don't know of another
That should
thing.
be last. Just so you know,
Gambling perhaps.
yeah, it should be the last thing on your roadmap for marketing, not the
Oh,
first.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean we trial that a little bit as much for testing purposes, and it just doesn't return.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't return quickly, and it doesn't return when you're at the size that we were at. So I think that was a very obvious one for us. And then I probably think one just kind of subtle piece was um, or more subtle. It wasn't necessarily that we're doing the wrong things. I think we're just targeting the wrong people. And
Mhm.
so I think trying to force a square peg in a round hole can be really challenging. And you can blame, oh, we should have used email instead of a LinkedIn message, or this works
Mhm.
better than that. Maybe, but maybe you're just trying to target the wrong people because they're
Sure.
not the ones that are suffering from the
Yeah,
problem you
the
face. So,
product market fit is a really big question that a lot of companies,
mm,
tackle, and that it could take a long time. But let's talk about the future here. So, what does kind of the next 12 months look like? Do you have any new features coming down the pike? Any new technology you're going after other than taking my free idea about the the job postings? That better make the roadmap. I want to see it on there. Like, what does the future hold? What's your goals a year from now?
Yeah, so for us right now, we just closed that round, which gives us some stability for the next, let's say, 18, 20 months, which is fantastic. It means we can just kind of focus in the business, not on it. And I think we're at a point of maturing. So we're going from kind of old processes that worked well when it was a handful of people and stitched together into ones that are much more robust. I always think a round or two ahead. So I'm thinking, where do we need to be, let's say, to be a Series A, legitimate Series A considered in organization. So just maturing a lot of the processes internally and bringing more talent in. I just love hiring people that are smarter than I am. Just a lot of people, and almost making yourself redundant out of certain tasks within the organization. And we've just got some super people that are coming in at the moment, which is very, very exciting. That marketing engine, sales engine is going to continue to churn, and we're going to get closer and closer to our ICP and our key buyer and product market fit. On the feature and product side, it won't surprise you to learn that we're leveraging AI more and more within what it is that we do. So um, kind of took a breath in Q4 of last year to reassess everything that we had done, all of the people we had served, what had worked, what hadn't, who was saying no to us, who was saying yes, and we kind of we did a deep analysis on it, and we learned a number of things. The first of which is that we have one solution to all problems. That's not enough. So we've now developed multiple models within our platform to serve the various different kind of use cases and company types. That's going to go live in a couple of weeks. After that, we're going to launch our AI program builder. So everything I was saying about like pulling in organizational docs, that stuff can still take a little bit of time. Manually, it might take 3 months. In a smart fashion, maybe 3 weeks. With our AI builder, you can probably get it done in 3 hours. And you can really effectively build something that would have taken a ton of time before. So that's going to be a huge step change. ROI 2.0 dashboard. So all of what I mentioned earlier, we want to build all that back in. So it's really easy for you to validate and see your little ticker every day. You're checking in to see how much more money you've made the company. After that, I think some key pieces around um, I guess agentic AI on the front end for the user, because one of the things we really want to do as well as an onboarding program is great if it's company focused, it's super, it's really powerful. But who are you? Are you senior? Is this your first job? Are what are your goals here? Like that will influence what this program looks like. And what we're going to do is essentially tailor the front end on the user side to be one whereby some feedback here is going to influence the shape of the program as well. So literally everyone who goes through your program will have a different experience, but it'll all be
Mm,
based on the same content coming in. So we think about ourselves ultimately as like the co-pilot for your development, because you'll
yeah.
use it on the way in the door, you'll use it in any transition moments, you'll use it when you're stuck, maybe you'll use this to find people in the org to help you with the problem. We're right there beside you on your journey all of the way. So that's the next 12 months. And I think where we want to be in kind of 12 to 14 months time is in a really strong position in terms of our comfort levels around product market fit, our key buyers, our kind of ideal client personas, with a view to then really going from kind of this the phase that we're in right now into our growth phase before we hit our kind of scale phase. So there's some of the pieces we have going on right now.
That's great. To I guess to wrap up a little bit here, what advice would you give to new CEOs, venturing out on their own and entrepreneurs and whatnot, or even established ones, depending on where they're at in their growth stage?
Yeah, I was joking a little earlier that I was going to say just don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Get a get
It's
a
not
job.
bad advice. I was like I said, I was like, it's a certain level of delusional confidence and psychosis that you need to be an entrepreneur, because to
Yeah,
willingly go into that, knowing the odds against you, knowing the roller coaster, it's like, what are we doing? Why are we
it's a
doing this?
terrible idea. It's like parenting. Whose idea was
Horrible.
this?
Where are the
Yeah.
adults? Where are the adults?
Someone should have stopped me. Um, I would say that the when people ask me about it, because it's quite fashionable, you do get people asking, that looks so cool, and I saw the announcement, and you oversubscribe. That sounds easy.
Mm,
I would say some people enjoy learning by doing, and some people learning um in a more kind of through books and through kind
More
of
traditional.
more traditional methods, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's kind of a spectrum, let's say. I would say for those that like learning by doing and are very comfortable with unknown and risk and really get excited by that and excited by solving problems from first principles, I think it's a fantastic thing to do. For those that are less that way inclined, it's a terrifying thing to do because you spend a lot of time over here. So I think the advice I would give is before anyone starts is just be thoughtful about that. There's nothing wrong. There's multiple ways to do this as well. I mean, you can be very creative and entrepreneur within a large organization and set up a new division.
Mhm.
You can go forage in a new land with a crazy idea, but you've got to carry that risk and unknown and fear with you. So I would just say check in with yourself is the biggest thing I would say to people, and then check in on the journey, because if you're not having fun while you're doing this, and if you're just doing this to get a big exit and a payday, and it's the way you think you're going
You're
to make
never
most
gonna
money,
make it. You're
you're
never gonna make
just or you just keep going indefinitely, but not enjoy it one bit. I think you've got to enjoy the journey and just accept that not everything's in your control, and you're gonna run out of money. You're gonna hire the wrong person. You're gonna make a ton of mistakes. You're gonna like just if you can smile your way through it and actually enjoy that process and carry people through it and do it with a small sense of humor, super. That's the world
it.
for you. So that'd be my one piece of advice is just really check
I've
in with
always
yourself.
I've always said I've always said I'm really good at pulling the plane up right before it hits the mountain. You know, like it's like, oh boy, that was close.
Over and
No,
over again.
every time, man.
Oh, there's a bigger
Uh,
mountain.
Ronan, thanks for being on the show, man. Hey, listen, where can people find you specifically? I mean, you never know who's listening, might be the next big deal in the wings. And then how can they find the company?
Yeah, of course. So I am primarily on LinkedIn. That's where I spend a lot of my time. So hit me up, Ronan Wall on LinkedIn, Ronan at Dosen.io, Ronan at Dosen.io. Hit me up, honestly. Anyone, very happy to chat. And then we are Dosen.io, Dosen.io. Please come visit, say hi, and I'd love to chat to you.
Awesome. And listen, for everybody listening out there, again, thanks for listening to another episode of the Future of Biz Tech. Hey, if you liked it, like it, share it, comment, follow, all those fun things, because that is how tech nerds like us find cool podcasts like this. Ronan, thanks again for being on the show, and I look forward to talking more about Dozen.
Thank you, JC.
All right, bye bye. Boom, done.
Super. Well
Look at
done.
that. No,
On
no,
time?
no podcast hosts were harmed in the filming of this episode. Look at that. We're good, man. Yeah,
Fair
we have
play.
plenty of time. We are good right now. Okay, let's do a little breakdown, little after show.
Hmm.
Do you have? I don't remember from our pre-call. Do you have like a marketing person in house that you want to loop into an email so that they can get, or do you want me to just work with you when I get this live? How do you want to do it?
I think if you can CC Kenneth at Dosen.io, so
Well, I
Kenneth.
think we have. Do we have an email string already going, me and you?
Oh, maybe. No,
If
we must do. Yeah,
Yeah,
let
we have
me.
to. If you Because if you don't just reply and then loop them into it, and then this way
Perfect.
they're like, who the hell is this guy, right? Like it's better coming from you than me, right? Um,
Perfect.
and so this way, when I get everything done in live, I can share that through there. Um, on a side note here, it's interesting because we were talking about the marketing stuff. And by the way, you're right. The paid ads, listen, paid ads work. They just don't work first usually. I always
Totally.
tell clients, I'm like, listen, I'm like, we're gonna do about 8 different things before we do paid ads, right? And the reason being is that you learn a lot with what works in other parts of marketing, and then you take that into paid ads, and then you have a better shot at not blowing the entire budget on in one.
Totally.
Yeah, right. I mean, but listen, rookie mistakes. You're outbound. Remind me, you said you were doing more the email, the LinkedIn. Is that something you said you're doing yourself right now?
So where we're and are you Jason at
Yeah,
Infinity M
Infinity
Group?
Group.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So I didn't want to kind of use the term thought leadership in the podcast because it's a bit naff. It's like calling myself an influencer. But where we are right now is we're doing a ton of that type of content up top. So um we're pushing that out hard on LinkedIn. We're using the likes of Meet Alfred to
Okay.
increase connection counts,
Mm,
and outreach. Sales Navigator plugged into that. Email campaigns going out. I've got about 2,500 people in a database that we've reached out to, connected with leads previously, now pulled into HubSpot. We've now got the newsletter cycle about to go, and then next up the kind of webinars that I'll run monthly and just invite people in and
yeah.
have a chat. So we've a bunch of those pieces, and then we're going to start podcast and YouTube channel and all.
Good.
That's it, a little
Hey,
further
that's
down the
smart,
track,
man.
but I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing firstly, I've done a lot of these. This is really, really cool. Like you've done a really lovely job. You've got
Oh,
this is a very cool setup. So well done you.
I
And
appreciate that. Thank you.
if we're a fraction as professional as this, I'll be very pleased with
You know,
whatever
I
we.
can I can teach you a couple of things too if you haven't done. There's some shortcuts that I had to learn the
Mm,
hard way, of course. I always tell people I'm not brilliant. I'm war torn. Like I've stepped on every
yeah,
landmine, and that's why I know where they're buried, right?
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
can skip through the field now, right? But like that's only because I stepped on every single bad pothole already. So well, this brings, I guess, my next question because here's the thing. So my agency, we specialize in B2B tech companies at and
Hmm.
scaling them specifically.
Yeah.
We don't deal at the lower end and like, oh hey, we'll get you from here to here. Where we come in is when you're here, like
Hmm.
you're doing good, you've got referrals, you got something going,
Yeah.
but it's getting hard to go from here to here. We are that
Totally.
gap into that. And our business model, just so you know, is a little bit different. It's a little unique. We are more of a growth partner agency than
Hmm.
we are a marketing. Marketing agencies are very commoditized, right? I've had my agency for 14 years. I've been that before, where we had 100 clients all paying for a monthly thing for like this one thing, and I got to tell you, like it was profitable, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I missed diving in. I missed the strategy. I've been doing digital marketing 25 years, man.
Yeah.
I've had the company for 14. Like there's a point where you start to miss like why you got into it
Totally.
originally. So we completely overhauled the model. And in order to also show the faith that like, hey, like we're really in this, our model, we only profit when you do. We have a revenue share
Oh
basis.
wow.
We can do that because we're that damn
You know
good,
you're good.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. I don't pitch this to everyone I do a podcast with. I just don't. I listen for certain things to see
Yeah.
like, is this someone that we could help? Do we even give a shit about the product?
Yeah.
I do think your product's cool, which is why I came up with an idea for it on the spot. Right? Like it's
You're
not a
actually
bad
thinking about
feature.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. We talked about culture being a thing and how we can get the wrong hires. Imagine your system being able to spit out job descriptions that
Are
filter for that
culturally
in
appropriate.
advance. You
Yeah.
already have the information. You like it's literally just a you just have to code the system to use the conglomerate amount of information, collated, I should say, as its own giant prompt,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
spit out what the product or what the tasks need to be for that job title, and then
Yeah.
it will put in the description like we're looking for this type of person who does this, this, and this, and then it also helps you in the interview process, right? Because if anything it spit out for the job description, it can also spit out a script of questions for your HR
Totally.
director. Like it's all in one shot. There's no reason to
Yeah.
literally we just do it all in one thing. And it also, I think, could also, here's why that's also big. People have figured out how to use AI to do their
Around
resumes and
that.
stuff. Yeah. Remember, this is a cat and mouse game back and forth,
Oh,
right? And I think it's going to be really important for systems like yours to start getting ahead of that to combat it because that's just the way it goes, right?
totally.
But anyway, I guess my point is I like what you're doing. I'm the scale guy. I'm the guy you come to when you're already doing good, but you want to be up here,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, if you're doing like the LinkedIn, you're doing it at this level, I can bring it up here. If you're doing the email at
Yeah.
this level, I bring it up here. If there's no obligation for this next step, if you want a part of it, if you want, I would put together, and you can keep this and use it in house if you want. You owe me nothing. I would put together a kind of a little battle plan, right?
Hmm.
I call it the if it was me plan.
Yeah.
Like if JC owned the company, what would I do to for all these different marketing things that I do? And I can include a podcast style thing too, which it does take some more of your personal time, but it can really get you into these bigger enterprise deals, I think, which would be
Totally.
really great, right? Because it's not easy getting a hold of CEOs of big companies,
No.
right? But a podcast is a good way to do it, and I do it for fun. But I every now and then I'm like, you know what, I like that, and then I'll have this
Yeah.
conversation. Like, listen, if you're interested, again, if it's not something interesting, that's fine. But if so, I will put together a plan that I think would be cool, and then If you like that, then we can talk about what it would look like for us to execute on it if you so chose. You did just get a new round of funding. The whole point being is to grow the company, right? So the timing might be right. Do
Mhm.
you want to set up 30-minute call for maybe next week and just see what the thoughts in my head?
Yeah, here's what I would say. I think right now I'm even a little green because I'm in the middle of the engine build, if that makes sense. Like I'm in the how to integrate Meet Alfred into HubSpot, how to get my reporting in HubSpot to tell me the next thing I need to
We do
do.
that.
Do the this is I see I've hired a guy for 6 months and I've got another guy that's ex Salesforce who's doing some of the HubSpotty pieces. So I'm kind of in the middle of this. I'll call it the like the structural piece.
Sure.
And so for me, I think right now, because I what you just offered, I would love, but I do not want to put you to any work. And then at the end, it's like, oh, thanks for doing all that work, but
You're
actually, I
fine.
don't.
Here's what I say is if you're in a position where you would pull a trigger within 30 days, then the answer is yes. If it's not 30 days, then the answer is wait. Right? Because
Totally,
because even
totally.
anything that any ideas I even gave you, I got to tell you, man, marketing moves so fast. Half
It'll
of
be
it's
out of
going to be
date in six
expired.
months. Yeah,
That's my
yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah.
It's yeah. So we'll do this in. Either way, send that email, loop in your marketing person so I can make sure that
Yeah.
I get them what they need from this when it goes live. And then we'll just kind of like revisit in a few months and see where you're at. You know?
Genuinely, I sincerely love that because I know
Yeah.
we're at like product market fit moment where I'm still, as you know, I say it in the podcast, I'm like, I'm not founder-led sales anymore. I bloody am, like it's still that as opposed to when the engine is ready and I'm like seeing the money come out the bottom, then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, and dial this up a bit and put a bit of money into this and hire someone to do that. And now a bit more comes out the bottom.
Mhm.
I'm at the point of like trying to put the pieces in.
Yeah.
And so I even think anything you'd have for me would probably be wasted because I would like, we should be doing that. I'm
Yeah, but
fantastic.
you don't have you have to have the infrastructure first. Yeah, listen, no worries.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is I'm not going anywhere. I've been around 14 years. We're
Good.
still we're going strong. But do that email though, loop in your marketing person
Please,
so I can
please.
get them in there. You'll know that it's gone live because I will tag you
Mhm.
in a LinkedIn post with the
Love
recording.
it. Love it.
Okay, that'll be the
Yeah.
first sign, and after that, we can talk about like maybe your marketing person wants the full file so they can chop it up into pieces. I don't know, whatever they like, we're
Mhm.
happy to help them with.
Super, super, super. JC, thank you so much for that. That was it was really enjoyable. And if I can help in any way, I'm trying to say anything. No, look, I think for right now, I think this is perfect. We'll check back in a few months. And sincerely, I hope there's a way we can work together in the future because this is I like your style. You're good.
I appreciate that, Ronan. And
Yeah.
best of luck to the coming too. And I know you're going to be fine. You've gone through the shit and grit. And hey, you're a gambler at heart. You take the risk, and that's how you win
Roll the
on the other.
dice.
All right, Ronan. We'll talk to you later,
JC,
buddy.
thank you, mate. All right, see you on email.
Bye bye.